Hello my kings, queens, and fellow non-binary leaders, and welcome back to Nani Nakama. Today we're gonna continue with In My Shadow, and I have good and bad news. The good news, I have finally found an end to this alternative ending. The bad news, it is not today. There will be one more part after this, but only one more, and this time for real, I promise. There will be more alternative endings, but this one will end with the next part. I swear it. Now. And I hope I stick to that. No, I'm kidding. I'm pretty sure. So I hope you enjoyed this part. Forgive me for the long rambling. Let's go. Kida awoke from the loud thud of two bodies crashing into the ground in the wall beside it. Immediately he grew alert, but before he could even attempt to make sense of the situation, a scream cut through the silence, louder than anything he had expected. It painfully resonated in his head, and he straightened in alarm, just in time to watch a blade lunge itself into his boyfriend's shoulder. Whatever he had expected, it wasn't this. He cried out to him instinctively, trying to get his legs under his body and move. Beside him, Aran did the same, equally in shock at the sudden tension. His eyes scanned the scene rapidly to make sense of it, yet it was too slow. He only saw a glimpse of it as Atsumu threw himself in between Sakusa and the attacker, and then Red tainted his shirt. He staggered, and Kida jumped up to aid them. As fast as he could, he crossed the distance between them, which suddenly felt as though it stretched for miles. Aran close behind. Take Atsumu! A sickening crunch filled the air, and Kida recognized with relief that it was Sakusa breaking the bones of the hand holding the knife with brute force. From the corner of his eye, he saw Aran pulling the sitter back. Knowing Atsumu secure in their boyfriend's arms, he swiftly focused on neutralizing the threat. Hold her. He didn't need to tell Sakusa twice. He was already using all his weight and strength to push the girl to the ground and against the wall. Kida quickly reached for one of the drawers of the nightstand and pulled out a rope. With practiced moves, he slung it around her hands much tighter than would be safe. He didn't care if it cut off blood flow. He didn't care whether it would damage her hands further. He didn't even care to inflict pain, although it probably was. All he cared for was that she wouldn't be able to hurt any of them ever again. He fastened the rope to the heater beside them, double-checking that it was secure, though just observing her upon stepping back did the trick. She thrashed against the bounds, but they didn't budge. His chest rose and fell rapidly, lungs aching. Adrenaline was still rushing through his veins, and his heart beat in unhealthily fast rhythm. Red glinted in his peripheral vision, and he snapped around to look at it more closely. The sleeve of Sakusa's right arm was soaking up the crimson color, intensifying as Sakusa tightened his grip on the intruder. Let go. You're going to worsen the injury. He did, albeit hesitantly so. The raven was trembling, trying to string a sentence together, when suddenly his attention zeroed in on Atsumu. Upon being reminded that their most vulnerable was in a far worse position, Kida didn't hesitate to aid Sakusa in reaching him. He himself was desperate to know how badly the blonde had been struck. While Aran answered his questions in a frenzy, trying to keep a line of communication to the emergency operator, the former captain inspected Atsumu's wounds. He winced as he saw the red mass around his hand. Aran had reached for the next best fabric and wrapped it messily around the injury. It held very little, and Kida did his best to tighten the makeshift bandage in hopes to stop the bleeding faster. His hands were quickly stained in the bright red crimson. As his eyes darted to his chest again, he quickly grabbed a fresh shirt from the still open drawer and pressed it against the gash. Aran was right. It was superficial, but he didn't have the time and energy to bandage his entire torso, leaving him with little more he could do than holding and pressing the fabric to the wound with both hands. Even so, the effect was but negligible. His mind struggled to catch up and make sense of everything that had transpired in mere minutes since he had been woken up by the screams of his partners. The blood rushing in his ears quickly became an omnipresent force. Felt like this nightmare would never end, not even with its demon tied to a heater, immobilized. As if to confirm his suspicions, Sakusa began to waver. Kiyomi? He caught the movement just in time to catch a sagging form and guide him more gently to the ground with one hand, the other still pressed to Atsumu's chest. What happened? Is he injured too? How? Knife to the shoulder. It shouldn't be life-threatening unless left untreated. He pulled his hand back slightly as he felt Sakusa's skin being covered in a layer of cold sweat. Quickly he reached up to check his breathing. It came in short, shallow breaths. His lips were turning pale. He's going into shock. Kida cursed under his breath. How long until they get here? He had never been confronted with a situation he couldn't handle until that day on the bridge. And then, 3 days ago, when his supposedly dead boyfriend appeared before them, alive. And now. Shinsuke-kun? What is going on? Is Atsumu alright? He forgot. Relief and stress battled within him at the familiar voice calling out to him. Miya-san, Atsumu's mother, had come to visit them 2 days ago to assure herself of Atsumu's well-being. She stayed in the guest bedroom for now to offer support and help them and Atsumu find a way back into a normal life. She had been an anchor to all 4 of them, and Samu, who still came over daily. He half wanted to shield her from the horrors awaiting behind their bedroom door, but... No, it's the woman. She got in and attacked us. We have her restrained and help is on the way, but Atsumu and Kiyomi got hurt. Can you open the door for the paramedics and lead them here? There was a heartbeat of silence from the other side of the door, followed by a sharp intake of breath before she could voice her agreement. The next time he heard her voice filled him with more gratitude and relief than he would have thought possible. Returning to the hospital so soon after Atsumu had begrudgingly allowed them to examine him after his return had not been on Aran's to-do list for the next week. He felt almost numb as he watched drops of medicine falling into Kiyomi's IV, something to help his system recover from the shock. Atsumu wasn't here yet, but they had been informed that he would be put in the same room once the surgery finished. Hands were complicated. They included a lot of fine and detailed structures that could easily be damaged permanently if one wasn't careful. Realistically, they had known that Atsumu's chances to return to the court as a professional volleyball player had been slim after the whole ordeal. But now, he really hoped it wouldn't cause permanent damage. Even if MSBY couldn't take him back, the idea of Atsumu never setting again was just too painful. Sakusa was barely better, but the cut on his shoulder was clean and missed the actual joint. The blood loss hadn't been too excessive, but they assumed that the psychological stressors added to his body's response. The only good thing that came out of this evening was that Haru had been without a doubt arrested with enough evidence to keep her there for good. Yet, at what price? With the last act, she had managed to effectively re-traumatize Atsumu and newly traumatized the rest of them, potentially taking away the one thing they truly loved so deeply aside from each other. The simple idea that after today Aran might be the only one of them capable of playing volleyball on a high level made him want to quit as well. He couldn't bear the thought. As if reading his mind, Kida took his hand and squeezed it reassuringly. Neither he nor Miya-san had said much since arriving here. It was a complete 180 from when the medics and police arrived, with Kida giving their precise medical history, recent changes in medication, as well as the exact process of injury to the EMT. On the other side, Miya-san demanded they take their job more seriously from the police. They had 3 days to arrest Haru, and even with her obsessive behavior being known, she still managed to find their new address and break in. She made them assure 100 times that Haru would be securely locked away in custody now before she let it go. Aran couldn't blame her. He wasn't sure what he would have done had he been the one to wake up first instead of Kyo. A slight rumble of satisfaction resonated in his chest as he remembered the sight of her fingers, broken and twisted where she had previously held the blade. It did nothing to soothe his aching worry though, the burning guilt of letting Atsumu get hurt under his care again. His thoughts were interrupted by the sound of the door opening and another bed being rolled in. The blonde looked pale and tense even in his anesthesia-induced sleep. His hands were wrapped tightly in bandages. The white color peeked out from underneath his hospital gown where the wound in his chest had been treated. Did it go well? Yes, it was a clean cut for the most part, and we managed to reattach all the severed structures. However, he'll have to be extremely careful with his hand for a while. I'll prescribe him painkillers, but the recovery will be painful. He nodded defeated in response, and soon they found themselves alone again in the room. Silence covered them like a blanket. That was until Sakusa began to stir. Immediately, Aran pulled his chair to the side of his bed and took his hand from the uninjured arm and without the IV. He soothingly rubbed over his palm where the other blinked awake. Hey, how do you feel? The dark eyes found his, and Aran felt his chest constrict as he saw the pain and panic reflected in them, only rivaled by utter exhaustion. Atsumu? Where's Atsumu? He's over there. Still unconscious from the anesthetic, but he will be fine. And you will be too. Sakusa's gaze lingered on the blonde and tears gathered and fell from his eyes, but ultimately he let himself sink into the pillow again and reciprocated Aran's grip. He took a few measured, deep breaths. Are you in pain? I can ask for the nurse. He shook his head carefully. Whatever they're giving me, it's good. I'm drifting off, but I'm scared to fall asleep again. Again, Aran's head clenched. He didn't like the idea himself of seeing his boyfriend essentially unconscious again, but Sakusa needed the rest more than anything right now. It's okay. We're here with you. Nothing can hurt you or him. The woman was arrested. You are safe now. He nodded wordlessly, but still fought his heavy eyelids until he could do so no longer. Aran pressed a kiss to his temple and stayed right by his side until morning. As always, thank you so much for watching to the end. It really means a lot to me and it helps a lot with the algorithm. So yeah, thank you a lot. And if you enjoyed it, please leave a like and maybe a comment with your feedback. That would mean the world to me. Also tell me what your favorite quote from this part was under the pinned comment. As I said, there will be one more final part and then we have finally finished the alternative ending. Something about this series always makes me think, oh yeah, this is gonna be like a 3-part thing. And then, yeah. A special thanks as always goes out to my nerdy knickers. They got this video 2 months in advance. So if that sounds interesting to you, maybe check out the join button under this video. And yeah, I hope you really enjoyed this series and tell me what I should do next. If you have any specific ideas, there's a request form that's linked below. Here are my other social media. I'm especially active here and on TikTok and occasionally on Instagram. So check that out if you like. And now in the end cut, here we have some more content. Check that out too if you like, and now you've run an amazing day. Bye everyone!
Today's gonna be a good day. Wake up. 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 Today's gonna be a good day.